Kindred by a fluid melody, read by abstract rhyme. Summary. A veil tears apart in petals and blades as a girl slips through healing cracks. Death can lead to endings and beginnings, one to whom 3 realms stand witness. The nether groans as promises are remembered, and the end whispers of secrets old and new. As for the overworld, behold, Voltaria, for your children return home, clad in their birthright. Chapter 1. Heartfelt Reunions. A house had appeared in the mountains. There was no warning, no procession of builders or anything that would herald a building. One day the snow blew over, and it was just there. And you say the only inhabitant was a human child? Dominus Voltaris rubbed his face, Voltar on his back with his sword. The latest attack had been a month ago, and he was still recovering from the near-death experience. In front of him Orico, one of his best scouts, nodded. She was bringing ingresses out when we found them. He looked fine, if dazed. For weeks, Voltaris camps of all sorts would find themselves mysteriously laden with gifts. The lost or missing finding themselves back home, and resources neatly wrapped in baskets for any to find. Tools are repaired or replaced with superior equipment, fresh produce, and meals piping hot, and shouts of surprise when missing limbs and sudden fevers were healed overnight. It was a priceless gift for a persecuted clan, even more so for a father reunited with his son. The minute he had seen his child, Dominus had hugged him tightly, terrified that this was an illusion brought on by his grief. It also made for a dangerous blade. Whoever this was knew where each camp was with terrifying ease, displaying contemptuous skill when slipping past guards without a care. That they knew exactly what each camp needed the most without leaving a trace had brought many a nightmare when parents found their children playing with new toys they found outside. Then there were the stranger events, the ones humans shouldn't be capable of. Humans cannot renew limbs or organs, not unless he was vastly out of touch with modern humanity. And to find a child as the only link, without any other adult or kin? Dominus was a father himself, and his heart bled at the idea of possibly harming her, but he couldn't afford to ignore this. Stars forbid if she led a champion right to their camps. So he sent Orico to gather clues and find what he could. If only it stayed that simple. He was forever grateful for having his son back, but the method behind it gave him a headache. House nothing, that thing was more like a cave turned into a villa. Just from outside we could feel the warmth. There wasn't anything to block the entrance, but we could spot ruins all around it with not a lick of snow circling the ground, plants growing everywhere with carvings all over the place. That was odd, extremely so. Everything he described should have taken time to construct and plan, yet there hadn't been a hint in the past month. Last Dominus recalled, humans tended to prefer building their homes large and elaborate compared to the dens, caves, and tents his kin preferred. Then there were the runes. He was no expert, but he had never heard of enchants used on anything bigger than a weapon. And for all Northwind had adapted to the weather, he was certain they'd have ruined more buildings if it meant less snow. She called herself Joyce Irides, said she moved recently and asked if he wanted to come in. The thing is, she didn't act like a kid. Oh, she looked like one down to the cheeks, but her eyes, you had to be there to see it. Dark brown, but everyone and I swore that she had more colors in them than anything I'd ever seen. The scout's eyes were misty before he shook them away. We said no, and she asked why, so we told her that was up to our master. Tilted her head and gave us a letter promising guest rights. Troubling. As he took the envelope from Oriko's hands, he cautiously examined it. The smooth paper sealed by nothing, yet unbudging till he applied more force, a sticky substance on the flap. Some kind of glue? To Dominus Voltaris, master of his clan. Please join me for lunch tomorrow, if possible. Should the timing be inconvenient, I'd be happy to discuss. Sincerely, Joyce Iridas. He paused to dwell on the words before turning to Oriko, handing him the letter. Call the others. We have much to discuss. You're going? Oriko looked alarmed. What if it's a trap? We don't know anything about her. And she could easily do more with how little we know. If I go, it is to think in a certain and equal measure. He caught on instantly. This is still a bad idea. I'm aware, but I will not kill a child for freely offering aid without cost, nor will I ignore a possible weakness to our safety. He already killed so much just for his clan's survival. He would not take another without reason, especially not one who had given so much. Call a council and have them prepared for when we leave. Have Cassian pick some of his guards for a journey without sacrificing security. He did not know what her promise of guest rights meant, but courtesy demanded courtesy without being complacent. As Oriko left, Dominus looked down the snowy peaks, heart weighed and lightened by all that passed. Perhaps this turn of fortune will last longer than he thought, perhaps not. But his family was back, and for now, that was all that mattered. I'm sorry, it's pronounced Horacio? Well, now the accent makes sense. Chapter 2. Xenia. Andrew coughed as he flew through the snow, Morrow whining in the pitiless expanse. The knight didn't know how long they'd been flying through the mountains, but he did know the following. 1. They were horribly lost. 2. There were strange rumors going on about the north. 3. They were horribly lost in a snowstorm. 4. Andrew had been volunteered thanks to everyone being busy. 5. They were horribly lost in a snowstorm around the Barrier Mountains where no one knew they were here. Unless he had forgotten anything, then that was it. He, freshly knighted in his early 50s, was going to die from sky spit. If the weather didn't kill him, then the embarrassment will. Morrow, his wonderful and beloved dragon, snorted to catch his eye, pointing her snout to lighten the light. Now, normally, Andrew would go with more caution, but with how cold he was, he couldn't think straight. Think it's safe, girl? The look he got could dry paint in seconds. Okay, fair. Well, won't hurt to say hi. And if it killed him, he was going to punch the first ghost who laughed. Diving down and landing was painless thanks to a cliff ledge big enough for Morrow to fit comfortably. Hackles raised and tensed as Andrew jumped down to get a better look. The light was coming from a cave? No amount of squinting could see through the snow, leaving one option. Sighing, he got closer to the potential death trap, only to pause. There was a perfect circle of polished stone, free of any snow. More importantly, there was a door of solid oak, the familiar light of glowstones illuminating the intricate carvings on not only the wood, but the walls as well. One in particular caught his eye. It wasn't every day you saw a poem on the wall. Beloved phoenix, come and roost. Your brother cries, your sister grew. She's now a woman, wise and mature. She weeps, but all this time endure. Oh, dear phoenix, won't you come home? Or will you still constantly roam? If this wasn't important, he didn't know what was. Praying this didn't leave Morrow riderless, Andrew knocked at the door. Once, twice, Hello. He didn't scream, he didn't jump, and he most definitely didn't fall on his butt and get half buried in the snow. Any questions of why a dragon jumped and fell on their side from shock was lies and slander of the highest order. Coughing, Andrew got up to get a good look at the lady who blindsided him, only to blink. Was that a kid? A leather coat and wide-brimmed hat concealed many of her features, aside from her hands, and the storm made it worse, but he was pretty sure she was raising an eyebrow. Standing tall, she was half his height, but had eyes of piercing brown, eyes that flickered with hints of other colors. Best to be polite. Hi, is this your house? She gave a slight nod. My name is Joyce Iridas. Would you like to come in? I promise guest rights as per inn traditions. To this she pulls out a steaming purple bun. Hiding his unease, Andrew took a bite, chorus flute filling his mouth. How did she even get this? What traditions? Please follow me. Your friend is too large, and there's only one spot she'll be comfortable in. Morrow basked in the heated stone, fighting lidded eyes as Andrew sat in a wrought iron chair and table. She had taken them to another cave, one mostly smooth stone, aside from some plants and decor, but the heat made him assume lava was beneath. Not that it mattered right now. What mattered was how dangerous things were, now that he got a good look at his host's face, as she walked back of a covered tray. A girl who wore clothing that should have had her soaked, but stayed perfectly dry, whose casual walk betrayed no fear and didn't act like a child despite her obvious youth. Do you have allergies? He shook his head, watching as she set the table. Colorful porcelain cups full of steaming hot chocolate with cinnamon sticks to sip from, served with platters of bacon and roast potatoes with herbs. Morrow was given a whole pig stuffed with fruits. The fact she knew a dragon's diet sent bells ringing in his head. You have an interesting place. A twinkle flickered in her eyes as she smiled, forking a roast. It's incomplete, but still helps. All I need is a bigger table. Was this some kind of meeting room? A banquet hall of sorts? You still haven't told me your name or that of your partner. Oh. He lets go of his admittedly delicious cocoa to clear his throat. I'm Andrew, and that's Morrow. We heard strange rumors around here and planned to check it out, and in turn find a lady who somehow got her hands on an end-base fruit. Ah, what kind of rumors? I'll admit, I was never the most attentive when it came to world news. The end has heard whispers of strange occurrences, of fires and singing appearing out of nowhere before vanishing. Northwind has been concerned and asked for aid. Left unsaid was that one rumor of a shadowy figure fighting off bears with burning eyes. He was pretty sure that came from a drunkard. It was silent as the two ate, Joyce deep in thought. Are you sure it's not a different part of the north? He shook his head. Then it might be my fault. I enjoy singing and assumed there was enough distance to not be heard. I apologize for the inconvenience. He gives a dismissive wave. Honestly, that made sense. A shared point in the rumors involved going deep into the wilderness, and with how remote this cave was, it was plausible a random hiker heard and saw the fires from her home. Nah, not your fault for living. That said, I have another question to ask. What did you mean by in tradition? This is the first time I've heard of it. She studied his face, her own calm. My mentor informed me that chorus fruit was a historical way of offering hospitality. By eating one, they were officially guests under my stay. At this, the puzzle clicked as he relaxed. Joyce was taught, perhaps raised, by the fellow knight who in turn gave her access to his resources. It would explain much. I've never heard of it, but I've never focused much on history. Could you give me this knight's name? If this man was giving inaccurate information on purpose, Andrew felt obliged to smack some sense into their skull. Joyce's voice is far softer as she speaks. He's dead. Andrew fights not to choke on his bacon as Maro croons, giving her rider a look. Right as he's about to apologize, she brings up a hand. Don't. There's no way you could have known. Nathaniel and Zenith have been gone for years, and nothing can change that. That's it! Rendor stared incredulously. Andrew shrugged. What did you expect? I couldn't think of anything else other than small talk. I flew out when the storm blew over. She was polite about it, through and through. Rendor fought the urge to facepalm. That girl was semi-blatantly magical, and he didn't think to ask. For Void's sake. I don't recognize those names, but they should be in the archives. That said, thank you. Rest. Should we need to find her, we'll ask. Hopefully, this would get him some answers, like why the Ardoni clans were fixated on Velgrin. Stars help him. Sometimes he hated his crown.